Welcome to the Compact Disasters podcast from compactdisasters.com, the show where we explore natural and human-made disasters from around the world. This is episode 56, the 1947 Texas City disaster. On the morning of the 16th of April 1947, the port city of Texas City, nestled on Galveston Bay in Texas, appeared to be running as usual. The wartime boom in chemical and fertilizer shipping had transformed the port into one of America's busiest. An unassuming Liberty ship-turned-merchant, the SS Grand Camp, was moored at Dock 4, preparing to load and depart. On board was a massive cargo of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, manufactured initially for munitions during the war and later diverted for civilian use. About 2,300 tons, which is about 2,100 metric tons, of the chemical lay in the hold of the Grand Camp. Just before 8 a.m., dockers noticed smoke rising from the ship's hold, but attempts to extinguish or control the fire proved fruitless. The ambient conditions of the day, a mild breeze off the bay, no rain, temperatures rising, combined with industrial adjacency and a lack of coordinated safety planning, set the stage for catastrophe. At 9:12 a.m., the hold of the Grand Camp detonated. The explosion flattened the ship's structure, sent massive pieces of steel and equipment flying into the air, and ignited a chain reaction of fires in the surrounding port area. A tidal wave of harbour water surged onto the docks. Oil storage tanks, chemical warehouses, and adjacent ships loaded with ammonia compounds and fertilizer exploded in rapid succession. The blast was heard miles away, even registering on seismographs. The immediate destruction was enormous. Hundreds died instantly. The town's volunteer fire department was almost wiped out, with nearly every member perishing in the first explosion and the ensuing fires. Chaos reigned. Rescuers, townspeople, and dock workers found themselves engulfed in a scenario of debris, flame, and wreckage they were unprepared to confront. The Grand Camp's explosion did not stand alone. Nearby, the ship SS Highflyer, itself loaded with ammonium nitrate and sulfur, caught fire from the blast and exploded about 15 hours later at 1:15 a.m. on 17th April. That second blast wrecked adjacent ships, warehouses, and rail cars, and significantly increased the death toll and damage. The port of Texas City, the chemical plants, oil terminals, warehouses, and housing all lay within the blast radius. Heavy shrapnel blasted into homes and businesses. Fires raged for days. The industrial landscape turned into a war zone of flame and ruin. More than 5,000 people were injured. Official counts of the dead settled on at least 581 fatalities. The exact figure remains uncertain due to missing persons, vaporized bodies, and unrecorded workers. Entire blocks of Texas City were destroyed. Homes in the working-class district closest to the port were flattened. Many residents died simply because they lived so close to dangerous cargo operations without any buffer zone or disaster planning. The collapse of ordinary structures meant ordinary people suffered. In the immediate aftermath, survivors stood among twisted metal, burned walls, destroyed vehicles, bodies, and the remains of ships. The blast launched large ship components into nearby fields, embedding anchors and propeller shafts in the ground several miles away. Medical facilities were overwhelmed. Triage operated in makeshift zones. The town's morgues could not cope with the influx of bodies. Many victims were unidentifiable. Families waited in agony for news, often in vain. Buildings that could have served as shelters were destroyed. Rescue and firefighting capacity was decimated because the volunteer fire department had been all but wiped out. The disaster exposed a fragile civil safety infrastructure unprepared for an industrial catastrophe. While the proximate cause was the detonation of ammonium nitrate aboard the Grand Camp, deeper causes lay in system failure, lax regulation of hazardous cargo, dangerously close proximity of homes and industrial operations, absence of disaster planning, and inadequate safety culture in the port and city. The fact that the cargo was ammonium nitrate, a known oxidizing agent and fire risk, meant there was a potential for explosion. Yet the port lacked coordinated authority. Safety oversight was fragmented across shipping, rail, industrial, and municipal lines. On the ship, attempts to fight the fire were flawed. Steam was used in the hold, a strategy unsuitable for an ammonium nitrate fire because it can convert nitrate compounds and accelerate heat. Water alone might have been safer, or earlier evacuation better managed. The choice to seal the hold to save cargo proved fatal. In the days following the explosions, rescue efforts were monumental. Firefighters, military units, volunteers, and out-of-town medical teams descended on Texas City. Yet the devastation hindered timely response. Some areas were too dangerous to access due to delayed collapses, ongoing fires, toxic chemical exposure, and structural instability. Locals witnessed scenes unimaginable: children crushed beneath steel, burned survivors, families torn apart, and entire neighborhoods gone. Survivors recounted that flying steel rods went through houses, vehicles were thrown into fields, and the harbor became molten chaos. A tidal wave of hot materials surged from the explosion into the docks and adjoining town. The economic damage was also enormous. Port facilities, warehouses, industrial plants, rail infrastructure, homes and businesses were destroyed or damaged. Recovery costs mounted. Many businesses never reopened. The human loss, physical damage and disruption changed Texas City permanently. The Texas City disaster became a landmark in industrial hazard awareness. It forced changes in how hazardous materials are handled, in the siting of industrial operations relative to residential zones, and in the development of emergency response frameworks in industrial communities. The accident became a case study in chemical safety training and hazard management. The city itself was rebuilt. Industrial operations resumed, but with heightened safety oversight. Memorials were established. The disaster led to the recognition that industrial infrastructure needs disaster planning just as much as natural hazard zones. It also influenced U.S. policy on transportation of hazardous cargo port safety and urban industrial zoning. Decades later, the explosion remains one of the worst industrial accidents in U.S. history and is also one of the most powerful non-nuclear explosions ever recorded. It highlights how human, technical, and organizational factors combine to magnify risk. For students of disaster studies, urban planning, emergency management, or industrial engineering, Texas City offers a potent example of risk unrecognized until it is too late. It is a reminder that growth, especially industrial growth, requires safety structures not only in design, but in governance and community engagement. The event also resonates in communities worldwide: ports, chemical plants, and industrial residential interfaces. Wherever hazardous cargo sits next to homes, the lesson stands: separation, regulation, planning, and community awareness matter deeply. Texas City refused to die. The town rebuilt its port, its refineries, its industrial base. But for many families, the loss remains personal. The graves of unidentified victims, the memorial anchors and propeller shafts still embedded in the grass. The annual commemorations, they all testify to survival and memory. By naming itself the town that would not die, Texas City acknowledges both the trauma and the strength of rebuilding. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Compact Disasters podcast from compactdisasters.com. If you did, Why not leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts? And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you would like to support us more directly, please consider buying us a coffee. Head on over to compacthistories.com/disaster coffee to see how. Also, please check out our other Compact podcasts. You will find them all at compacthistories.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.